Kindly help us appreciate how we've got to where we are right now with this bill.
Okay, I mean, we've been on this journey for about 18 years now. I mean, it started in year 2000 when the then President Obasanjo set up the Oil and Gas Reform Committee, and then they came up with a new oil and gas policy, which was meant to then go on into a new legislation. In 2008, President Yar'Adua at that time is sent in the first bill, the first petroleum industry bill in 2008. And unfortunately, that bill did not see the light of day. It went in, the executive had put in the bill to the National Assembly, but it wasn't passed by that National Assembly. And then subsequently, President Jonathan also presented a new bill in 2012. Also, there were various reviews of the bill. It got to the National Assembly. It also did not see the light of the day. And the current 8th Assembly then took it upon themselves that was going to be, I mean, we needed to do something about these reforms. The reforms had been going on for so long, and the industry had been waiting for this bill to be able to move the industry forward. So it was introduced again, another exercise started, and the bill was presented at the National Assembly in 2017. Fortunately, so this time around, the approach of the National Assembly was to have 4 separate bills, because the past exercises we had one bill, one big ominous bill, which was meant to address the fiscal terms, address governance, address administration. And so it has been very, very difficult to pass that bill. So the National Assembly said, let us break it down. Let's have like 4 separate bills. Let's have a bill that addresses governance issues. Let's have another bill on fiscal issues, a bill that addresses petroleum industry administration, and another one on the host community. So the first of those bills is the one that deals with governance, which is the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill. And that bill was passed in 2018 by the National Assembly. It was passed by both houses. I mean, that is the farthest any petroleum industry bill had gone. It was passed, and then it was sent to the president for assent.
Because I remember last year there was a whole lot of, everybody was happy that, okay, yes, we're going to finally see the light of the day.
Yeah, so finally we're there. So it went into the president for assent. Unfortunately, it was returned. The president raised some issues with the bill. That he provided for a single regulator, and that also about the revenue, that the revenue for the single regulator was too high, because the bill provided for 10% of the revenue generated by the regulator, which the president felt was too high, and then also there were some drafting issues. So it was returned to the National Assembly. Okay,
but we understand that there are new moves right now by the National Assembly to try and see if they can get this passed, and they're looking at tweaking some of the issues that were in there. Also, the third, one of the issues that were also discussed as part of the reasons why they didn't accent to that last bill was the fact that they felt that some part of the drafting was ambiguous, and it could lead to future problems in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that was raised. Issues were raised about the drafting. I don't think that, I don't think that those provisions were major in terms of, there were a few things you can look at a draft and say maybe somebody else can interpret it this way. So that came up, but that has been, since that letter was sent, the National Assembly, together with the technical team, which I participate in that technical team, we've had joint sessions with the executive, and the drafting issues have been resolved. So we believe that most of the issues that the president raised have been resolved. So the National Assembly is currently working on fine-tuning the bill and pass it again and submit it to the president for assent.
Part of what has not really been said out there, what has been reported in the media and in different spaces, is the fact that they think that this bill kind of reduces the powers of the president in there. In your opinion, how do you think this plays out?
No, I mean, what the bill is, it's not that I would not say that the bill significantly reduces the power of the president. Of course, part of the objectives of the bill is to have an independent regulator. Okay, so we wanted to have an independent regulator, like what obtains in the telecoms sector, like what obtains in the electricity sector. Part of the purpose of having an independent regulator is that you want to insulate decision-making from political review and process. So that is part of the benefits of that. So of course, in trying to do that, there will be a lot of powers which currently is exercised by the minister, who is an appointee of the president. In this case, the president is actually the Minister of Petroleum. Yeah, so it's not, there's nothing reducing the power of the president in terms of power as executive president. But of course, there are functions and powers that are currently exercised by the minister under the Petroleum Act, and some of those powers have been transferred to the regulator, which is essentially for best practice, because the regulator is in a better position to make those decisions, insulate the decisions from political influence. And that is also in line with best practices in most parts of the world, because we've looked at the reforms that have been done in other countries, in Brazil, in Norway, in Colombia, and the tendency, the global tendency, is to have an independent regulator, because that is going to give confidence to investors. They will believe that there's a process that is insulated from political process that they can rely on.
So you don't have to go through several hurdles from different regulators.
You don't have to
get.
Yes, we don't have to. So that's part of what the PIGB tries to address, to ensure that you have a one-stop shop regulator who can give approvals on most of the activities. And also, of course, we recognize that the oil industry cannot exist on its own. You can't exist in isolation. There are other regulatory agencies, but those regulatory agencies are required to work with with that regulator. Okay. So you don't have a situation where there are multiplicity of policies, multiplicity of approvals, multiplicity of directives from different agencies that leads to conflict and confusion. So that is part of what the PIGB is trying to address.
All right, we'll see if this finally gets passed from this in this 8th Assembly.
We are very hopeful. I mean, there's a lot of efforts being made currently by the National Assembly, pushing and also working with the executive. So we're hopeful that this will finally pass this time around.
Then we hope that will finally unlock all those billions of dollars.
We have the billions of dollars that have been held up because this reform has not been completed. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the industry, and we hope that once we have this bill, it's going to send a strong signal to the industry, and